Hey guys, MJ Madness here, and with the NBA season right around the corner, today I'm going to be giving you my Western Conference standings predictions. These were some very difficult picks to make. The Western Conference is incredibly stacked. I think there are 11 teams that could realistically make the playoffs, and 5 that I see as legitimate superpowers. So, let's get into the video. In 15th and the basement of the Western Conference, I have the Sacramento Kings. The Kings finally turned a corner last year by getting rid of DeMarcus Cousins, and while they had a nice draft, this team is still many steps away from contention. In 14th, I have the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are quietly building a nice young team, led by Devin Booker, and I consider Eric Bledsoe one of the most underrated players in the NBA, but I still think the Suns are a couple years away. In 13th, we have the Dallas Mavericks. Their core continues to age, and while I'm a huge fan of Dennis Smith Jr. and think he could be a dark horse contender for Rookie of the Year, aside from him, they don't have nearly enough young talent to push for the playoffs. In 12th, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. There is an incredible amount of hype around the Lakers this season, led, of course, by Lonzo Ball, but I think this team is too young and doesn't have nearly enough experience to finish any higher than 12th in a very deep Western Conference. In 11th, and entering into a group of teams that I think will be fighting for the 8th seed, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were the 7th seed last year, and Mike Conley and Marc Gasol remain one of the better duos in the NBA. But their core isn't exactly young, and they lost some key pieces in the offseason, while many of the teams around them improved dramatically. If they were in the East, I'd have the Grizzlies as a surefire playoff team, but unfortunately, they're in the West, and I don't think they get it done this year. In 10th, I have the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are still a very solid team, led by the defensive animal Rudy Gobert, but the loss of Gordon Hayward is going to hurt, and I think the Jazz just fall short of the playoffs this year. In 9th, and the final non-playoff team, I have the Portland Trail Blazers. This is one of my boldest takes, and I know they have one of the best backcourts in the NBA, but other than Yusuf Nurkic, their frontcourt looks very weak, and I don't trust the depth on their bench. I think if Portland's in the East, they rival the Raptors and Wizards for the 3rd or 4th seed, but unfortunately for them, they play in the Western Conference, and the disparity between the two conferences is absolutely insane, and I think that's what holds Portland back, just missing out on the playoffs this season. Moving on to the playoff teams, in 8th, I have the New Orleans Pelicans. I know most of the NBA world has the Pelicans missing the playoffs, but I truly think their frontcourt is the best in the NBA. And with the addition of Rajon Rondo to a backcourt already led by Drew Holiday, I think they have enough to get it done and make the playoffs. Sure, there are a lot of questions still to be addressed on this team, but I think they surprised the NBA and snagged the 8th seed. In 7th, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. The loss of Chris Paul is going to hurt this team, but I still think that they're experienced, and as long as they can avoid injuries, I see them back in the playoff picture once again. In 6th, I have the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is one of the most exciting young players in the NBA, and I think he'll only continue to get better. The addition of Paul Millsap was very underrated, and I think he takes them to the playoffs. In 5th, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. With the addition of Jimmy Butler, the Wolves are building some kind of a super team, but I think Cat and Wiggins are still too young and inexperienced, and I can't justify putting the Timberwolves anywhere higher than 5th, considering the 4 teams above them are veteran-filled teams that have a lot of playoff experience. In 4th, I have the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I only have the Spurs dropping to 4th from 2nd last year because the 2 teams I've placed directly above them made some huge moves this offseason to bring in superstars, while the Spurs remained relatively quiet. I think you can never count out good coaching, but on paper, the Spurs don't have what it takes to be a top 2 or even top 3 seed in the West anymore. In 3rd, I have the Houston Rockets. With the addition of Chris Paul, the Rockets have, in my opinion, the best backcourt in the NBA. And this team is going to be so much fun to watch and create a lot of offense this season. In second place in the Western Conference, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder made some massive moves in the offseason, adding Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to a team that already had the reigning MVP Russell Westbrook. And while I still think there's some questions as to how team chemistry will be this season, on paper, this team looks incredible and absolutely one of the top tier teams in the league. And in first place, who else but the Golden State Warriors? The teams around them have improved tremendously, and I definitely think there's more teams that could give the Warriors a run for their money. But they're still the NBA champions and clear-cut best team in the league, and I think their record this year should reflect that. That's going to do it for this video. Be sure to let me know your predictions for the Western Conference standings in the comment section, and hit the like button if you would like to see a video of me breaking down my Eastern Conference standings predictions. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.